take my baby for a ride. Ooh, she's like a smooth stretch of highway. Ooh, like a cool summer breeze. If my motor's running right, or we might lose control tonight. Got the shape I love to squeeze, looks that bring me to my knees. Oh please, let it roll tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to TW Teleproductions North Coast Game of the Week. And again, we go to the iconic setting of the Duck Pond in Castalia. The Margaretta Polar Bears and the Sandusky Blue Streaks matching up for the first time since 1969. How's that?
50-50s. Here we are.
We're missing Jeff Rohrbacher.
Sandusky High School, 50-50.
Where's Mr. Rohrbacher?
It's going to be big tonight.
We are,
Big.
yeah, we do miss the old familiar faces of Castalia. Brings to mind an old buddy of mine, Dave Bauer from Castalia, who worked for us for years on radio, and those iconic faces of Castalia. And then once in a while, you got to ring in a clunker like you just saw on your left right there. But, you know, that happens. The Iceberg has probably never seen so many people in its very existence. I think it's time to build a new school. Oh, wait a minute. They already are in Castalia, which in a couple of years will be in a new Iceberg. But right now you're looking at some of the great memories, and no scene like that polar bear when you enter into the gymnasium in Castalia. You're seeing the Sandusky High side of the gymnasium packed. They're packing them in just as tightly over on the Margaretta side as well. And that's just kind of the way things are going to be. And they will be loud, they will be voracious, and they will be enthusiastic for their teams in this one. And, you know, I hate to say this, but I really wish the two teams from last year would have matched horns. Hey, we still got some icons left. If the two teams from last year would have met, what would have happened? Who knows? But this year, I think you're going to be happy you came around to join us, because this is a basketball treat. And again, there was a time that nobody ever would have dreamt since 1969. These two teams would meet once again. But folks that are a little bit on the aged side, like me, will remember the time where they never thought it would be possible that Sandusky and Perkins would ever meet on a football field either, but that happens all the time now. So things have a way of changing. We've got two outstanding basketball programs ready to lock horns in Castalia tonight. So again, 1969 is a long time ago. In fact, I know some young people that think dinosaurs existed in 1969, but that wasn't the case. Dinosaurs exist now, and I get that look all the time. But this is going to be fun. You've got two great coaches, two great student bodies, and two great teams that are ready to lock horns in the village. Some people welcome the cameras, and some people are scared stiff of them. Not even any room in the stands for the Margaretta Pep Band, for crying out loud. This is fun. And some people know when that camera's on them, even from a distance. Couple of old familiar faces there, too. And DeMar Moore, the fifth-year head coach of the Blue Streaks, and Tom Schirra, who is keeping the book for Sandusky for his 86th consecutive year. And Steve Keller, who used to be a head coach at Sandusky High, for those of you who don't remember that. Coached for several years in the Big House. Before that, over at Clyde, and, of course, graduate of Oak Harbor High School. And now leading the Polar Bears into the promised land. Here we go with your Fan of the Week, brought to you by Snow Trails Winter Resort in Mansfield. By the way, Snow Trails opens this Thursday, which would be December 11th for those of you who are anchoring for that wintertime fun. Game of the week, let it roll. One of our young polar bear fans taking up center stage as our Snow Trails Fan of the Week. Snow Trails Winter Resort, again, don't miss it, this Thursday, grand opening day. And I know of a certain cameraman who's in the room with me right now, just might be there.
Johnson! Let's go, Johnson on blue! Guys!
Bear. Bear.
I love it. That picture right there doesn't get more iconic than what you're looking at there. Well, get ready, folks. First time since 1969, the polar bear is psyched. The polar bear is ready, and I hope you are too, because this is going to be fun. Polar bears and streaks up next on the North Coast Game of the Week. What a great shot of the colors of the season behind the ducks at the pond. First quarter for Groff Funeral Homes with parlors in Sandusky, Milan, and Huron. Groff Funeral Homes. And Wake Up and Waffle. It's a brunchery. It's in downtown Sandusky at the Marketplace since 2020. Wake Up and Waffle. Boy, it's about time we got a new gym. We need new bleachers. They're not going to withstand this kind of pressure. First possession, Margaretta in control. Judy Keller wearing that face guard. And Margaretta turns it over on their first possession, so it is going to be Sandusky basketball. Time to get a look at some of the new faces of streak ball this year, and Polar Bears have basically everybody back from last year, just about. Cale Bailey getting the scoring started for Margaretta, and it's a 2-0 Polar Bear lead, just 29 seconds into the contest. Bailey from just inside the key area, getting the Polar Bears off and running. I think Margaretta is playing like a basketball team that just doesn't believe that losing is a possibility. Playing with lots of confidence. Sandusky with a lot of new faces from last year. They went through that ride all the way to the state semifinals last year. They know what big-time basketball is all about, and this is kind of like what we're talking about. Cam Jones with a couple of missed free throws, and Margaretta back to their end with Julian Washington heading to the free throw line. That's the result of shot number one. Second one, much the same, and it's a 4-0 Margaretta advantage. There's your first look at our Civista Bank scoreboard of the ball game, and Amaj Woolfolk strong with the left hand from the right side, cuts that Polar Bear lead in half. Keller being picked up on defense there by Dale Johnson. Streaks will put a lot on Dale Johnson this year. Really came on strong, had a great tournament run for the Streaks last year, and is looking to sustain that carrying over into the new season. From the corner, Woolfolk for three gives the Blue Streaks their first lead of the ball game at 5-4. This is Tyson Bailey being cut off by Kamir Hunter. Washington can play the assist role, too, if needed. He does just about everything. This young man who's headed to the University of Dayton in his final high school season, but it's another one of those faces that, man, it's going to be one of those where he is going to be dearly missed. But for this year, going to enjoy every bit of it. It's one of those once-in-a-generation kind of players that comes through. Keller being stopped out front, finally finds Washington. Keller receives it back and puts the Bears back in front with his tray from the left side, and it's a 7-5 Margaretta lead. Keller just opening up a little bit of distance between himself and Dale Johnson, put it up over the top of him for 3. 7-5 Polar Bears. Kamir Hunter, he is a force down low for Sandusky to tie the game at 7. And now we got to brace ourselves for a once-in-a-lifetime moment right here. I say once in a lifetime, it is actually twice in the last few years it's happened. Julian Washington from behind the arc. That is a brand new school record right there. 1,424 career points, breaking the record that was set just 3 years ago by Chris Leibacher. 1423 was the old mark, and this three-point basket is going to put him one over that mark. So smooth. Great shooting form, and pow, nothing but the bottom of the net for Washington. And don't tell me all those fans in the background didn't know what was coming here. It gets stopped. So by obviously the agreement of both teams. And the neat thing is here, you can see Washington. Let's hear it. Let's hear it. But the salute he got from the opposing bench as well. Love great rivalries, but love the respect that's shown. Quality and quality. Head coach Steve Keller, who's seen every one of those points for Julian Washington, and there is the record-setting basketball. Look at this. Head coach Tamar Moore, the opposing bench. And now, we hate you again. Time to go against each other. Cam Jones couldn't follow that one in, but I'm telling you what, this young man is a lot of fun to watch as well. He's got great range. Just a youngster for the Blue Streaks. Still a junior. And as you see right there, that's a little bit of that range we were talking about. Off the inbounds play, which is being triggered by Anthony Redding. Here's Jones. Nice head fake, got his defender off his feet. Swish. Tie ball game at 10, second tie of this contest in the early going, the first 3.5 minutes. See the defensive prowess of Anthony Redding and the Streaks on the run. Dale Johnson, Blue Streaks with a lead. There's the defense, and how many times in the past have you heard DeMar Moore say, we turn our defense into our offense? Jones with a great look. Seeing the man open on the baseline, Dale Johnson, a little ball fake, and an easy 2 for a 12-10 Blue Streak lead. Keller has the Polar Bears back to work again at their offensive end. Rebound again by Redding. Perfect position on the backside. Cam Jones, Kamir Hunter. Jones, we talked about before what a great range he has, but what a great floor leader, finding the open man. And the Blue Streaks with a 4-point lead, trying to make it even more. Jones from distance, a little bit too strong. There again on the boards, Blue Streaks with Dale Johnson. Wolfork right back down to the post area, where the Polar Bears get it back. Now trying to cut into that lead. Rebound again by Redding. Jones on the run. Wolfork whistles a pass baseline to Jones. He gets caught underneath. There's Redding firing up a bit too strong. Tyson Bailey on the Margaretta rebound. And there's Julian Washington. And as this game goes along, you're going to see every facet of Washington's attack and defensive prowess as well. There's no mistake that he's headed to Dayton on a basketball scholarship, and they're getting a good one. Keller from out front, just off the mark. And now Washington with a rim rattler, rebounded in by Cale Bailey, and this ball game is tied for the third time at 14. As the Streaks can't handle it, Bailey does. And then after Washington comes up with the rim rattler, Bailey right there on the offensive glass to lay it back in. So Bailey ties the game at 14. Now the Blue Streaks trying to answer back. Redding's miss is rebounded by Bailey. This feed from Washington in the paint to Tyson Bailey, who just has it roll right across the rim. And again, Anthony Redding on the glass as the Blue Streaks take a timeout. 14-14 tie at the Iceberg. Thanks to the following local businesses for their support of the North Coast Game of the Week: Leslie Murray Law, Fosco Cement, David F. Cook Funeral and Cremation Services, Diederich Motors, Crush Wine Bar, Dockside Cafe, Pier Pub, Pizza House East, O.E. Meyer Propane Division, and TC's Slide Through. Now it's the Streaks trying to break the tie. It's fun to watch both of these coaches because they never stop coaching. Every minute of every game. Streaks on the run. There's a nice feed from Keller to Washington, and the Polar Bears are back in the lead. Fourth lead change of this first quarter. These are kids that have played together for a long time. They know where each other are going to be. The assist to Keller, basket to Washington, and it is a 16-14 Margaretta lead. That's in the final minute of play here in quarter number one. Dale Johnson coming up short, much to the delight of those folks. Quick hands by Tavari and Myers, knocking that ball out of bounds. Neither one of these teams really goes that far into the bench at crunch time. Be interesting to see if that has an effect on either one of these squads as the year goes along, or if that depth just has its opportunity to build up. As both of these teams, you figure, are going to have opportunities to get younger players on the floor, but maybe not in a game like this. One quarter comes to a close. 3 ties, 4 lead changes. Each team had as much as a 4-point lead, but that's as tight as it's been for this entire first quarter. It ends with Margaretta up by a count of 16-14. Bears being led by Julian Washington. And a good first quarter just like we expected. What will quarter number 2 have in store? We'll be finding out here in just a couple of minutes, but it is 16-14 Polar Bears after one. Sandusky, 19-8 last year to the state semifinals. Margaretta, 23-3 to the regionals. Yeah, we expected a good one, and here it is. From the Duck Pond, Merry Christmas to all, and also from the folks who bring you the second quarter of tonight's contest. That's Shores and Islands, Ohio. And also Ehovie Career Center, just off Route 250 in Avery. What a great wintertime scene over at the pond. Notice I'm not saying anything great right now. You wonder how she actually is ending up with two really neat kids. Connor and Colin. Connor, who happens to be one of my granddaughter's best friends in preschool. So I have to look at that face a lot, picking up grandkids at preschool. And it always has that same sarcastic look for some reason or another. I can't figure it out. Blue Streak basketball to start the second quarter, with Margaretta holding a 2-point advantage, 16-14. On the line and out of bounds, turnover goes to the Bears. And Julian Washington with a power slam. Yeah, this is not what you see in high school ball a lot, but then again, there's not a lot of Julian Washingtons around either. Hit him above that rim and knocking it down. Washington, a 6'5" senior for the Bears, and jumps like he's a 7-footer. Polar Bears with a 4-point lead, and they're trying for more. So Washington to the free throw line. And by the time Julian gets done shooting these two free throws, 2 more points around the board. Margaretta with her biggest lead of 6, and Washington already with 13 points in this ballgame. Myers' pass knocked down, and here comes Washington again. Ball kicked around, and it's going to stay with the Bears. Have you ever seen it packed in more tightly than that in Castalia? Certainly has to be one of the biggest crowds that's ever packed into the Berg. One out of 2 for Washington. Margaretta with her biggest lead of 7. And right now, this is an 11-point run for Margaretta, broken by Dale Johnson, who gets them back to within 5. Well, leaders got to lead. And when things get a little bit tough, look at them go through 3 Polar Bears to score right there. Good piece of work by Johnson to get Margaretta and their lead down to 5. Judah Keller, speaking of leadership, basket and 1. Talk about pumped. You want to talk about intensity. Here it comes, bringing the heat for Gunlock Sheet Metal Works Incorporated, with heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and refrigeration since 1889. Watch Keller after he gets done putting this ball in. It's the return pass back, He will fight through defense first just to maintain possession of the basketball. And now down the paint through two defenders to score and one. And then punish his teammates. That's bringing the heat for Gunlock Sheet Metal Works on Columbus Avenue in Sandusky, just south of the 5 Points intersection. And a free throw to boot for the Polar Bear senior makes it an 8-point lead, which is their biggest to this point in time. 24-16 on our Civista Bank scoreboard. Dale Johnson drawing the personal, and he'll head to the free throw line. One out of two at the line brings the Blue Streaks back to within 7. He answered right back by the offensive rebound of Cale Bailey. 3 opportunities, which is not going to go over well with Coach Jamar Moore. Don't give the other team 3 shots at the basket and do a better job in that defensive glass. Wolf Fork at the free throw line, coming up empty on a pair. Margaretta with it back. Nobody in that student section has sat down all night long. Foul called in the backcourt, which would nullify that. As Johnson comes up with a turnover and the reaching foul called on Washington. But still a little bit of showtime for Dale Johnson. Please let that count. From the corner, long ball off the mark. Tyson Bailey to the line, knocking down the first one, which gives Margaretta their first double-digit lead of the ball game. It's at 10, 27-17, and Margaretta scrambles and controls the loose ball. That's Dale Johnson clearing the rebound that time for the Streaks. What a nice pass. Kamir Hunter off the assist from Johnson. That'll look a no-look feed down low. Watch Johnson right here looking across the floor. He sees Hunter. Zip! Nicely done. Hunter with the finish, and the Blue Streaks are within 8. Tyson Bailey's miss is cleared off by Johnson once again. Look out. Steal and kapow! In the immortal words of the legendary Joe Tate. You remember those words. You know the words that are coming here, don't you? The old voice of the Cleveland Cavaliers as that ball gets tipped away. Then fed right back down the floor from Morris. Wham with the right hand. 16 for Washington. The lead for Margaretta back up to 10 again at 29-19. Nobody could do it like Joe Tate. Out of bounds to Margaretta's, while we say special thanks to the following local businesses for their support of the Game of the Week. Thanks to the following businesses for their support also of the Game of the Week. It's Erie Community Federal Credit Union, Pizza House West, Brady Signs, Cold Creek Cafe, Brumball Law Firm, Cook Aluminum, Wendy's, Hartung Title, Pizza House East, and Chick-fil-A. There's your Civista Bank scoreboard with Margaretta leading by 10. Keegan Morris feeding off to the left side for Keller. Look at the offensive glasswork by Tyson Bailey to give Margaretta their biggest lead, now at 12. This is paving the way for Hermes Parker Concrete Limited of Sandusky. We talked before about work on the defensive glass and the importance of checking out. It comes into play on this play right here with Keller finding that baseline opening. Just off the mark, but look at Bailey. Nobody near him. The lay-in gives the Polar Bears the lead of a dozen, 31-19. That's just under 4 minutes to go in our first half, and that's Paving the Way, sponsored by Hermes Parker Concrete Limited of Sandusky. Sandusky getting a second chance. And Kamir Hunter. He's got Sandusky back to within 10. A little foul from behind on Julian Washington. His second personal foul, so that would be something to watch. You don't want your star in foul trouble for sure. Thanks for the support of these local businesses: Hermes Parker Concrete, Snow Trails, Civista Bank, Matthews Ford, Cameo Pizza, S&H Blinds and Floors, Fresh Electric Incorporated, Flynn Pie & Cruise, Toft Funeral Home and Crematory, Restore Pro, and Musicians Alley. I'll tell you what, that's a tough defensive assignment right down there, as you saw Jackson Bone guarding Kamir Hunter. Cam Jones with a steal. The run out. And the basket. He's got the Blue Streaks back to within 8, 31-23. Answered right back at the other end by Cale Bailey. You know, the neat thing that you're going to see about this Sandusky ball club, and you'll see it several times tonight, down by 12, they are not going away. Well, how's that for a touch? Dale Johnson now with 7 points, gets Sandusky back again to within 8. Washington with the ball, and of course he's got those 2 personal fouls. Getting fouled on the rebound, Washington to the line. Point number 17 on the ball game. Kamir Hunter clears the miss. 9-point lead for the Bears. Dale Johnson with that floater. His own rebound will be good to get the Streaks back to within 7. And now after being down by 12, Sandusky's on an 8-3 run of their own. Well, you know, they always say, if you're going to foul, you might as well earn it. And this keeps Reading from getting the easy score. Keegan Morris, you're going to foul him, you might as well get your money's worth. and force Reading to do it at the free throw line. And this is one of those areas where Anthony is still working hard to improve, the 6'6" senior. I guess one of the keys is just forget about it and shoot the ball the way you know how. But you can see from the reaction he doesn't like the first one. And then Tyson Bailey clears the second one. So it's still a 7-point ball game, and Margaretta gets it back. And Judah Keller going to work and drawing the foul on Cam Jones. Never saw a player who agreed with the foul call yet. Keller with 2 out of 2 at the line. Margaretta's lead is at 9, 36-27 in our final minute of play here in the first half. That is a lot of hustle on defense right there from Jones. Travel call on the Bears sends the ball back to Sandusky with just seconds remaining in this half. Jones, that's range. Man, Streaks closed the half on an 11-5 run, and what was a 12-point ball game is now a 6-point game. Example number 1 of the Streaks not going away. At second quarter, Margaretta put up 20. Sandusky put up 16. The Polar Bears built their biggest lead of 12 at 31-19, to which the Streaks have whittled it down to 6. Sandusky's biggest lead came back in the first quarter at 14-10 when they had a 4-point advantage. And for right now, it is the Polar Bears settling for a 6-point lead at the break, 36-30 on TW Teleproductions North Coast Game of the Week. We're all over this village of Castalia on a Friday night. Third quarter and some halftime activities coming up, brought to you by the Old Fish House with knickknacks, snacks, and BS facts for all who enter. And North Coast Handyman, call 419-656-0905 for services from North Coast Handyman. Yeah, I agree with that cold sign, that's for sure. It's a young lady by the name of Cassidy Lane who is ready to sign a full-ride athletic scholarship to play Division I basketball at Gardner-Webb University in Boiling Springs, North Carolina. Congratulations to Cassidy. Man, you look at her resume, honor roll all 4 years of high school, athletic achievements. Man, she's been a 4-year letter in basketball, softball, 4-year letter winner. She won a letter in volleyball. She won a letter in golf as part of an SBC championship team. I mean, what better resume can there be? Congratulations, Cassidy Lane. And we start our second half with Margaretta holding a 6-point lead at 36-30. Kamir Hunter and 1. And the big senior's going to head to the free throw line. Hunter doing some great work down low in taking his loose ball, and you can see that whack on the arm, putting him at the free throw line. Fights through that to score. And as the Bears within 4, and now we'll get one more opportunity at the free throw line. 20 seconds into the second half, and the Streaks are back to within 3. This connection is retrieved by Keller in the corner. Cale Bailey getting free and banking it home for a 5-point Margaretta lead, and that puts Bailey in double figures. And this is the whole key right here, is when you get by your man, attack the basket. And watch this feed coming from across the floor. Defender goes for the ball, misses. You now got him beat. Attack. Score. 5-point lead. Margaretta. It's aggressive basketball for Bailey. And now the Streaks back in possession once again. Keegan Morris knocks it away. Washington down the floor. Easy 2 for Julian. This all started by the work under the boards of Keegan Morris. Look at this. Knocks it away. Cale Bailey down the floor. You're always looking for this kid. And Washington with the easy lay-in. 40-33. Bears back up by 7. Now a little region foul there, called on Washington, which would be his 3rd. And 1 out of 2 at the line makes it a 6-point ball game. And Washington on the defensive glass. Gets that ball poked away, and now the Streaks on the run the other way. Keller, Washington, free throws. Julian has struggled a bit from the charity stripe during this ball game. Second one good to make it a 7-point ball game once again. Dale Johnson on that baseline drive, and you heard the whistle, which will give him 2 opportunities at the line. Nothing on the first. The second one gets the shooter's roll and makes it a 6-point ball game again, with Margaretta in control still. Amaj Wolfer psyched. Streaks back to the attack. Jones steps into a 3 and knocks that thing down. This is a nice piece of work by Jones. A little shake and bake here. It gets his defender going one way, steps back into a 3, and it is perfect. And a foul underneath the basket called as well. Bucket will count. With the 4th foul of the ball game called on Kamir Hunter. That'll get Cameron Daniels up off the bench for the Blue. Few looks of concern on the faces of some of the folks in the crowd as we say special thanks to the following local businesses supporting the Game of the Week. We'll look into the Sandusky crowd, anchored down by the Carrolls. And now it is Sandusky back on the attack. with Johnson down low in a pushing match with Bailey, and Johnson wins that battle to get the Blue Streaks back to within a point at 41-40. This is where you really admire the work of the officials. Yeah, that bumping and grinding going on, that's just good physical play, and Johnson wins that battle to make it a 41-40 contest. Very quickly down to the other end come the Polar Bears. And Julian Keller on the attack and the score. 43-40. Margaretta's lead back up to 3. You can tell when Keller's determined. He comes off that screen and he goes to that basket hard. Sandusky again trying for the answer. Down by 3 at this point on our Civista Bank scoreboard. Close to getting back to within 1. Keegan Morris on the pass from Judy Keller. 45-40. Nice look once again. It's just great vision as Keller sees Morris on the backside. Just enough room to get it there, and Morris finishes for a 5-point Margaretta lead just about halfway through quarter number 3. Judy Keller on the steal for the Bears. Cale Bailey on the long ball. And Margaretta's lead, just like that, is back up to 8 again as they're on a 7-point run, coming off of 41-40 up to 48-40. Make that a 9-point run as Washington plays the assist man to Cale Bailey once again. The box out by Tyson Bailey to get this whole thing started. Again, Margaretta doing such a great job of just watching for each other. Now a 9-point run to make it a 10-point lead again at 50-40. But as happened in the first half, streaks get down and they just start clawing right back again as Cam Daniels knocks that down to make it a 50-42 Margaretta lead. Rebound for Reading. Basket for Johnson. 4 in a row, 50-44. These teams answering runs back and forth. Washington gambling for the ball, didn't get it, and Johnson spun away, free to the hole for the lay-in. Thanks to the following businesses for supporting us here at the Game of the Week. Pizza Brothers, Small City Tap House, Flag Brewing, coveted by Share, Huron Pizza House, Pizza House East, Gnomes Podiatric Medicine, and Brumbaugh Law Firm. Don't you again, even during the, well, I tell you what, even during the timeouts and the inbounds plays, Demar Moore really coaching his team up, and there is the tip-in for Jones, of all people, smallest guy on the floor. But Jones down to the line. Look at Demar Moore. No, the other side. The other side. The other side. I tried to tell you. Cale Bailey says, thank you very much. And then you've got Cam Jones working amongst the trees down low, getting the tip, and then a free throw to boot. Unfortunately, for the Streaks, that last sequence is going to be played back several times this week in film sessions. We learned that a long time ago. Between them and the basket. Down to a 3-point ball game again, as the Streaks are on a 7-point run. You can see that Julian Washington off the floor now. 4 personal fouls, which is a key factor in this ball game. You don't want your stud on the bench unless it's by design, and this is not by design. Special thanks to the following local businesses. You know, stuff happens, and once in a while you just have to learn how to do without the guy you rely on a lot. But that's where this Margaretta depth pays off in their starting 5. Julian Keller, nice backdoor feed. And he builds the Margaretta lead back up to 5. Right, look at the way the Bears are just looking for each other right here. Keegan Morris. This is off the blue streak miss. Keller, again, such great court vision, looks up, sees ahead, looks to the backside, and it's an easy 2 for Morris. Another assist for Keller, and Margaretta's lead is now 54-47. And now you look for the Streaks to start coming back again, because you don't want to let them get too far out in front. Dale Johnson has the answer. His 16th point of the ball game makes it a 5-point Margaretta lead. Keller finding Morris again on that cut to the basket to make it a 7-point ball game. Some defensive lapses here by the Streaks. And Keller picking him apart. Look at Jones. Just inside the line to make it a 56-51 ball game. And a 3 at the other end will knock it down, or put it up now to an 8-point advantage. You'll see Jones inside the arc, knocking his down. And then Margaretta coming right back up the floor on our second look for Matthews Ford. Keller says, well, you're not going to pick me up. I'm going to knock this down. 15 points for Keller, 59-51. Polar Bears back up by 8 into our final half minute of quarter number 3 with a timeout on the floor. No timeouts for the cheerleaders. There's your story on the Civista Bank scoreboard. That's again in the final half minute of play here in quarter number 3. Sandusky with possession and down by 8. Rebound Daniels for 2. It's a 6-point ball game at 59-53. Judah Keller is with a clock winding down. And what a third quarter. 25 points for Margaretta, 23 for Sandusky. Anything and everything could happen in this fourth quarter, so stick around for all the fun as Margaretta takes an 8-point lead in the quarter number 4 at 61-53. And this is the kind of ball game you love. 61-53 sometimes it's not even as many points you get in the whole ball game. We've got it through 3 here with 8 more minutes to play from the Berg at Margaretta. Back to the Merry Christmas Duck Pond and Mike Zoll Cold Creek Cleaning Services. Call 419-621-4766. And our fourth quarter for Hartung Title. Supporting local athletics for generations across the North Coast, that's Hartung Title. And here is your fourth quarter. That's your Civista Bank scoreboard that has Polar Bears up by 8 and now 10 as Cale Bailey continues to have an outstanding ball game. There's Keller on the glass. Sandusky trying to take advantage of the turnover. Johnson and 1. Come on, Julian, we got to have you. No more fouls. Johnson finishes up the three-pointer for a 7-point game until it's knocked right down at the other end to make it a 10-point game again at 66-56. And now we're just going to trade threes back and forth. It's Jones' turn for the Blue Streaks. Julian Washington is back, but they got a foul on the floor. Washington with a left hand stretches that Margaretta lead to 9. Johnson couldn't get the roll. Nice job on the rebound by Myers. But it's going to end up being Margaretta basketball. Keller scrapping for the rebound. Keller for 3. Again, a 12-point game. 71-59. Now the clock starts to become a concern for the Streaks. Daniels coming up short. Rebound Redding. Streaks holding on to possession. Keller coming up with the defensive rebound. Julian Washington working his magic along that left baseline. He doesn't need a lot of room. He doesn't have a lot of room. Still takes advantage. Nice little skip move around Hunter. Gets fouled by Hunter and heads to the free throw line. Trying to convert the and 1. Bam. Washington makes this the biggest lead of the ball game now for Margaretta at 15 points. 74-59. And just when you think, as Hunter had fouled out of that game on that last foul, you're going to count the Streaks out. Guess again, folks, because there's Cam Jones starting another Blue Streak comeback. Streaks defense going to work. Jones runs it down the floor, pulls up baseline, Then Redding with a feed into the paint for Johnson. 5 straight points by the Streaks. They're back to within 10 again at 74-64. And there's more fun coming as we thank the following local businesses for supporting us here at the Game of the Week. J Bistro Downtown, Chet and Matt's Pizza, Matthews Ford, Snyder Collision, Southern Title, WTF Rice, Lake Erie Aesthetics and Wellness, Sora and Oak Sushi and Whiskey Bar, Vita, Downtown Sandusky, Shores and Islands, Ohio, and Firelands Health. Streaks have closed from 15 down to 10, still over 4 minutes to go in this ball game. All staying with Margaretta. Keller fighting his way to the basket and will get a couple of free throws with 4:07 left to play. One out of 2 at the line for Judah. It's an 11-point Margaretta lead. It's 75-64. Well, did I just see the new football coach at Margaretta in the picture? Congratulations, Lucas Pajali. He will do a great job and a well-deserved promotion after the retirement of Gary Quizno. And boy, what a legend in his own right has been Gary Quizno. Man, such a great effect on so many youngsters for so many years as we look at a putback by Anthony Redding to get the Streaks within 9. The and one opportunity bangs off the back of the iron. The Streaks keep the possession alive. Amaj Wilfork for 2. He's got 8 points on the night, and the Streaks are back to within 7. Nice baseline drive by Wilfork. And a perfect bank off the glass. 75-68 is the Margaretta lead. A little too much traffic down there for Washington, who took a hard fall. That is what you call goaltending by Cale Bailey. Give the basket to Cam Jones, and it's a 75-70 lead as Blue Streaks just keep coming right back at you. It's the kind of game I know that Steve Keller loves. This is what builds your character. You get a run, they just keep coming right back as Anthony Redding gets them within 3. Kick out by Keller. How about Cale Bailey? Man, having a career night here at the Berg. 78-72. Polar Bears back up by 6. Johnson, tough turnaround jumper. He's got 23. Blue Streaks are back to within 4. Keller's going to get a couple of free throws right here. And usually clutch players come up with points at clutch moments of the game. There's Keller, perfect on 2, 80-74. You're approaching the 2-minute mark and time remaining. Myers unable to finish. Ball back to Margaretta for a short while. On the run out is Redding. And a whistle and a foul. Myers will inbound the ball for Jones. And now Johnson, a little shake and bake, draws the foul and will get 2. opportunities at the line, and Tyson Bailey go, what'd I do? Johnson with 2. Making 2. It's a 4-point game again at 80-76. Keller using some clock. Washington and Tyson Bailey on the right sideline. Washington getting fouled out front by Johnson to stop the clock killing. Washington to the line. As we mentioned before, might not have been that great a night at the line for Washington, but with the game on the line, knocks down 2, and the Blue Streaks are back up by 6. Streaks needing points here. They can't get too much time off that clock, and they turn the ball over. It goes back over to Margaretta. There's the story on your Sophistibank scoreboard. The clock definitely a factor here. That's why you see the foul on Redding. And Keegan Morris to the line. Blue Streaks on the board. Their chance to get a little bit closer right here. Jones lost the handle. Streaks come up with it again. Cam from long range gets the rim rattler. And the foul putting Keller at the line with just 26 seconds to go. Knocking down 2 for an 8-point Margaretta lead. Dale Johnson needs a 3. He got a 3. 28 points for Johnson, 84-79. Blue Streaks are back within 5. Clock a factor with just 16 seconds to go. Talk about clutch. Here it is over the outstretched arms of Bailey. And bangs it in off the glass. And gets the Streaks back to within 5. Quick foul to stop the clock with 16 seconds to play. Keller with 1 out of 2 for a 6-point lead. Keegan Morris proving that his previous trip to the line was an anomaly. An 8-point ball game. And the Streaks will get a trip to the free throw line for Dale Johnson as the clock is ready to expire. And what a great game. When's the last time you saw 167 points scored in a high school basketball game that went 4 regulation quarters? That's the way basketball was played in the good old days. And thanks to both of these teams for putting on a great display of what fans love to see. Wide open action, running up and down the floor, playing some good quality basketball, and then saluting each other at the end for a game well played on both sides. Both teams should have outstanding seasons, especially Margaretta, with everybody back from last year. And it's going to be fun to watch the Sandusky players grow into their roles. Here comes your Pancake Player of the Game. It's brought to you by Sandusky Bay Pancake House since 1966.
Well, it was a great game. Definitely a great atmosphere to be in, and I love the environment, and I'm so glad we came out and got the win.
What about this team?
It's a great team. This week we kind of had a players meeting just to talk about the season, just our goals and what we needed to work on to get better. And, we kind of just bought in, got it together, and we came out and got the dub today, and that was great.
Where are you going for pancakes?
Oh, Sandusky Bay Pancake House.
Attaway, Julian Washington, the pancake player of the game for Sandusky Bay Pancake House since 1966. And the thing you heard coming out of him that I love the most, I love the atmosphere. How can you not enjoy a night with a packed iceberg with two excellent basketball teams going at it? And I do this once in a while, but I remember the old days of Huron High School coach Bob Bowers, who always used to tell me, let them play. To heck with zones. We're playing man-to-man. We want to get out. We want to run the floor. Let the kids play the game. And I love the memories of good old Bob Bowers, who was one of the greatest coaches to be around, and he was a player's coach indeed. And you're seeing some of the great moments from a great basketball game here tonight. Congratulations to both teams. Best of luck all season long. Next up for Sandusky, they are going to be playing at home against Toledo Start, while Margaretta heads off to Port Clinton. Next week, it is going to be Perkins and Tiffin Columbian on our next Game of the Week.